this video we are going to do a mock test with Chloe. Chloe has been a client of mine for probably, what, 6 months-ish, something like that. In my opinion, been test ready for quite a long time. It's just a case of waiting for the driving test, which has been obviously a nightmare for a lot of people. So I'm expecting good things from this mock. We're going to be in Barnet, and it's going to be conducted again on one of the test routes that you may be asked to do. We're going to use a sat nav in this one as well, so I'll include the video of the sat nav in the bottom of the screen so you can see exactly what Chloe's seeing as well. Okay, so test lasts for 38 to 40 minutes. During that time, one manoeuvre plus possibly the emergency stop. If I say nothing, assume I want you to go straight or follow the road signs, and if you're unsure, you are allowed to ask me to repeat, and I can do. Okay, we're going to follow the sat nav for 20 minutes. Have you done the show me tell me questions yet? No. Okay, we'll hit them anyway.
Okay.
I'll be nice on one of them. The first one we'll do now. Okay, so if you were getting into your car, first of all, okay, how would you check that your oil level is sufficient?
Does it flash up on here?
It would come up on the dashboard, but if you're in a car that doesn't have that, I'm a bit evil really asking. Have you heard of a dipstick before? No? Okay, no worries. So basically what you would do is under the bonnet where the engine is, there's a dipstick. You can take it out, clean it with a clean dry cloth, put it back in, take it back out, and it should be between the min and max marks.
Okay.
Okay, so bit evil, I know. Cool?
Yeah.
So, whenever you're ready, start the car. And we'll go for a drive. Uh-oh, not the best start. She picks up a driver fault for observation, so safety on moving off, and she picks up a driver fault for the control for the juddery pull away. Let's hope it's a one-off. Good mirrors on the change of direction though, well done. Just to give you, the viewer, some knowledge on how I do my mock test videos, any sections like this where we aren't moving, you will see that I will cut and restart again once the traffic light has gone to green or when the traffic starts to move. And on long stretches of road, I will then speed it up just because there's nothing going on and I don't want to waste your time. The whole point of these videos is for you to see exactly what you should be doing at the difficult sections. Driving in a straight line, anyone can do that. Chloe picks up another driver fault here as well for not checking her rearview mirror when slowing down. It's important to remember, whenever you need to slow down or possibly slow down, check your rearview mirror. It's what I call app, and it's part of my use of mirrors video, which I'll put in the description underneath. Chloe picks up another driver fault here for use of mirrors change of speed. It's not something that is normally an issue with her driving, but it goes to show that anyone can be affected by nerves. And remember, like I said at the beginning, I was expecting her to breeze through this test. But you can see there, she checked her mirrors on the pull away. So back to her normal self. Chloe picks up another driver fault here for use of mirrors signalling, because she didn't check her mirrors before putting on the indicator. Again, this is not something that is normally an issue with her drive, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in the debrief and what she says.
Yeah.
It's parked 1 car length before the black van.
Yeah.
And as you saw, she checked her mirrors to put that indicator on, so she does know she needs to do it. On this occasion, I just want it to be 1 car length before that van. Thank you. And drive when safe to do so, please. And another driver fault for moving off safety. It is really important that you check your shoulders before you make the car move, in particular when reversing. If there's a pedestrian behind her, she wouldn't know. She's now had 2 driver faults for that same observation problem, but as you saw, she did do one correctly there. If she gets a 3rd, that will be a fail. Now she's just stalled, so she should check her shoulders again before pulling away, and she doesn't. So she gets the driver fault for control, but then a serious fault for safety. Remember, if you stall, not a biggie, just relax, do your checks, make sure it's safe before you then proceed.
After 200 yards, turn left, A1081, St Albans Road.
Chloe's coming up to the national speed limit sign here, so she needs to check all 3 mirrors before accelerating. And again, she doesn't, so she picks up another driver fault for use of mirrors, change of speed. It's really important that you check all 3 mirrors before you accelerate, and again, the other video listed below will describe why. It's definitely worth a watch, but I do apologise, the editing was not brilliant as it was one of my first videos, and I will retouch that video when I get a chance.
Then, at the end of the road,
It's not actually a
turn
left
right.
turn, so it's at the end of the road, turn right.
After 200 yards, turn left, Bury Road. Then you have reached your destination.
Excuse me, sorry.
Turn left, then you have reached your destination. Reached your destination,
Sorry.
6 Bury Road.
That is the end of the independent drive. From now on, I'll give you directions. You can see that I'm checking over her shoulder, and that's because I need to check the speed. I know she's getting quite close to the speed limit or potentially being over, so I will then check and check again. Now this is when she would then start to get faults if she is over the speed limit, and she's not quite, she's just on the brink of 30 and 31. The examiner won't mark you down to 31, but be aware that if the examiner is looking over your shoulder like that, they are checking your speed. So just double check and think about it yourself. Am I over the speed limit, or am I going far too slow? Because that will also get you a fault. We'll park before the red car, don't worry about the driveway. Chloe's position at this point is good, but she carries on going further and further forward, and now it just makes it harder for her to pull away. Let's see what happens next. Drive on safety, dear sir, please. So again, doesn't check her shoulders before trying to pull away, and the car rolls forward. Not because she's not in reverse, but because she didn't find the bite point. Again, she tries to find the bite, but again the clutch is not high enough, so the car rolls forward. And again you can see she's fiddling with those gears. It is not down to that, it's down to that bite. And this is why it's really important you find that bite point. Make sure you felt the change if you are in a manual car. Obviously in an automatic it's not so much of a difficulty, but you still need to find that engaging point with the accelerator to stop it from rolling forward. Again, 2 roll forwards on the same pull away will lead to a serious fault for moving off control. So again you can see no real right shoulder check, but then she also turns left too early here and gets very close to that red car. You can see I lean forward and kind of think, ooh, that was tight. So she gets a driver fault for moving off safety, and also one for clearance to obstructions. You're going to see a van cut the corner here, and that's exactly why we should always wait until our turning point. Now, I would have preferred Chloe to brake a little bit harder than she did here, but she does stop and therefore doesn't pick up a driver fault. But don't be afraid to brake firmly. This is a common fault with learners where they feel that they can't brake hard, in particular on the driving test. Remember, the examiner would prefer you to brake hard than to crash. So don't be afraid to brake firm if you need to. It's really not an issue. Take the next road on the left. Again, didn't check her mirrors before putting the indicator on. Safe and convenient to do so, somewhere that you would leave your car. So she hits the curb there, not a massive issue, it was at a low speed, and she didn't go on the curb, she just brushed across it, therefore it's a driver fault for position on normal stops. So again, she doesn't check her right shoulder here. Because she's already been given a serious fault, she wouldn't get any more. But it would be marked down had the serious fault not have already been put down on the sheet. So remember what I said before about not being afraid to brake firmly? That's a prime example of it. She does have to mount the pavement. There's no other way of getting around that situation. But going slower when you mount the curb is really important because you can damage your car. Now, it's not a fault because it doesn't affect anyone else and mirrors were checked. But don't be afraid to brake firm. Also, on that corner, I would always advise use your horn to alert other drivers of your presence. That's what it's designed to do. Remember, at night time, you can flash your lights instead. Take the next road on the left. And as you can see again, she doesn't check her mirrors before indicating. Again, because it's an habitual fault, that would be a serious fault for use of mirrors signalling. It's so hard to see because, like I said, it's not something she normally has an issue with, but the nerves have definitely kicked in. Not long to go till the end of the test, and we'll see what she says. Park on the left before the silver car. Don't worry about the driveways on this occasion, you can block them. Thank you. Okay, what I'd like you to do now is the manoeuvre. So I'd like you to pull up alongside the vehicle that's in front of you and then reverse into the space this side of that vehicle. Going back no more than 2 car lengths, so no further back than where we are now, and be close to the curb for this manoeuvre. Do not worry about the driveway. You are allowed to block it, but you are not allowed to mount it. Okay, so you need to treat it as a normal curb. Okay. Drive when ready. As you can see, the observations on this manoeuvre have been absolutely brilliant so far. She's checking both her shoulders, she's fully aware of her surroundings. Now as she starts to reverse back, she goes a little bit too far and then notices that she's going to potentially hit the curb. She adjusts her mirror, which is the perfect thing to do, goes back as much as she can before then thinking, actually, that's not going to happen. At this point, what I would have done was gone full lock left, dry steer, it's not an issue, and then move forward. She's decided to move back to sort of the halfway point on the manoeuvre, not an issue at all. But again, she now doesn't do any observations, mainly because she's stressing out at not doing the perfect manoeuvre. And this is important to remember. We don't expect perfection, we just expect the end result to be correct. So don't dwell on it if it hasn't worked out straight away. As you can see, she brings the outward turn at the right point. She starts staring at that mirror and the observations go out the window. So as a result, she picks up a driver fault for control because she had to move forward, but then she picked up a driver fault and then a serious fault for observations because she hasn't done any, really, since the second reverse. So it's, again, quite gutting because the end manoeuvre was actually good, but because of the observations, that's what lets her down. And that's why it's such a common reason for people failing their test. Don't stress if the manoeuvre hasn't worked out perfect. Adjust it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Not even the examiner or I will do this manoeuvre perfect every single time. So like I said, we do not expect you to. Adjust it by all means as many times as you need, but effective observations. End of road, turn left. Take the first road on the right. And then park on the left, just where the brown pole is. Yes, please. So, how do you feel that went?
Badly.
Okay, why?
I didn't do a lot of mirror check. There was,
Hmm.
I stalled and then didn't check my mirrors after I stalled. I went on the pavement a bit on my parallel park.
You didn't go on the curb, you stopped
Oh.
just before it.
Okay.
So, okay, yeah.
Then didn't check my mirrors when I pulled away from my parallel park.
Yeah. The observations today
Yeah.
were definitely not your usual standard.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time when you're doing your pullaways, what you're doing is you're sort of doing that as a check, but not that. Okay, and this is something that is really important to remember. When you're checking your blind spot, you're checking the area that your mirror doesn't see. Okay, so for instance, in that mirror, what's the furthest thing that you can see on that right hand side?
The beginning of the big lorry, like behind the van.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Now, if you just look over your, like not over your right shoulder, but just looking, bless you, looking out of that window. Now, what can you see peripherally out your right hand side? Can you see as much as you did before or not as much? Can you see that truck?
No.
So you can see by doing that, that's actually not checking your blind spot, because you should be able to see the truck and everything between. Now do the same thing, but now just lean further forward as you do it. Bless you.
Yeah, I can see the truck now. Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah, so by just doing this is not sufficient. You need to lean forward, you need to be able to see, because the problem is with cars, you've got that pillar there, it gets in the way. Okay, so yes, we did get a fair few of those. And the other thing as well was when you stopped behind a vehicle, then you needed to reverse back before pulling away.
Didn't check my mirror.
Yeah, you're not checking the blind spots when you're doing that as well. Okay, so remember, whenever this car moves, make sure it's safe.
Yeah.
Make sure there's no one to hit, no one to kill. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing though, with regards to that parking, why make your life harder?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're parking behind, like parking on the left, there is the one occasion where the examiner will say to you, park on the left 1 car length before a vehicle. Okay, it's what we call the angle start. It's a compulsory manoeuvre. You must do it on the driving test. It actually counts as a manoeuvre. Okay. Now, you've reversed back, don't really have a problem with it. Do your checks. Okay. Now later on, I said to you, park on the left before the black van, I think it was.
Yeah.
You've got all of that space, but then you're getting right up to that black van. Now, that's why you then have to reverse back.
Was that on the hill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the faults then occurred because of the parking
Yeah.
being the way it was. Don't make life hard. Yeah. Keep a nice big gap. Make life easier to come back out. But remember, or you tell me, why was it rolling forward?
Because I didn't have a high enough bite point.
Exactly. How do we know we've got that definite bite point?
Because the car sort of moves a bit.
Yep. Okay, so the back of the car might...
Move, like, roll. Not roll, but like, you sort of feel it jolt, I don't know.
Yeah, you feel the back of the car lift.
Yeah.
Okay. What does the revs do?
That's so that you don't stall.
Oh yeah, but with the audio type sort of sound, how do we know that we found our bite point?
They drop down a bit.
Yeah.
They become quieter.
Exactly that. Okay. So if you don't feel any of those side effects, you haven't got it yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't then do your observations and your handbrake release until you're happy that that is definitely correct. Okay. Your mirrors, and this is a very strange one for you in particular. You rarely checked your mirrors in plural before
Yeah.
indicating.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes not at all, and sometimes you were just checking the rear view and not the side mirror. So as a result of it being habitual, it becomes a major fault.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's not something I normally moan about with you.
Yeah.
Okay. There was also one change of speed where we should have checked our rear view mirror when slowing down. Okay. Clearance to obstructions, that was when we pulled away on one occasion, like after that van on the hill starty type thing, where we were very close to that left hand side. We should have been a bit further away.
Yeah.
The park, when we hit the curb, okay, is that a driver fault, minor, or a serious fault?
When we were doing the parallel.
No, when I asked you to
Oh.
park and you hit the curb.
Major?
Okay, a lot of people think that. It's not.
Oh.
Okay, it's a driver fault. If you go on the curb, it's a major.
Okay.
Okay, and even then, sometimes they might allow you, depending on how high the curb is. Okay, but each time you parked, you got closer and closer and closer. Don't.
Yeah.
The first time you parked, your distance was fine.
Okay.
Okay, you're allowed to be up to 30 centimeters away from the curb. Don't risk being 30 millimeters away from the curb. Okay, you don't need to be. Okay,
Yeah.
you're making it harder. All right. The other thing as well, when you do stall, just relax, compose, do another check, and then drive on. Okay. So in total, we got position on all stops. We got change of speed one there, and the parallel park. Apologise for this, because with the new law, I can't touch anything electrical now, so that's why I'm having to do it on paper. So you got 14 driver faults,
Yeah.
and you got 1, 2, 3, 4 serious faults.
Okay.
Okay, but easy stuff to fix. I'm not really that stressed about it. I know a lot of those things are out of your character, maybe having the camera
Yeah.
put a little bit of additional pressure on.
Yeah.
Okay, but how did you find that otherwise?
It was okay. It wasn't, yeah. It wasn't the best, but yeah.
You know it wasn't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Okay, so you can see everyone has an off day. Okay, we just gotta hope it doesn't happen in the test. All right. So if you've enjoyed that video, please like, share, comment as well on your views. And if you'd like to do a mock test as well, please contact me on either this email here, and if you wish, you can also contact me on phone, by phone or text or WhatsApp on this phone number here. Please be aware that I'm normally fully booked for about 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, so if your test is during that time, sadly I won't be able to help. I'm getting quite a few people asking if they can do it in the next few days. Like, unfortunately, it's just not a possibility at this moment in time. But all the best, and hopefully we'll get this one on the road soon. All right, all the best.